This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros.
Ako po si Angel Manalo. Anak po ako ng KRD at Kateni. Mga kapatid po namin sa Iglesia ni Cristo, nananawagan po kami sa inyo dahil nanganganib po ang aming buhay. Sana'y matulungan niyo po kami.
Joining us is former Iglesia ni Cristo minister Isaias Samson Jr. and on the phone a little later on in the show, Edwil Zabala, the spokesperson of the Iglesia ni Cristo. But let's speak first to Mr. Samson. Thank you, sir, very much for joining us.
Yes.
You are made. There was an effigy reportedly of you during the protest. Did you know that?
Yes, I saw it.
You saw it. And,
Right.
well, did it look like you?
Wow, it was an insult.
It was an insult. Okay. So, were you expelled? You were expelled,
Yes,
right? Okay.
yes.
What does expulsion mean to an Iglesia ni Cristo member? Can you explain
Well,
that to us?
It's the worst thing that could ever happen to a member of the Church of Christ. Because we love the church so much, we love the doctrines, and we believe that once a person is expelled, then he doesn't have the right to be saved on the day of judgment.
Okay, saved on the day of judgment, meaning this. What's going to happen to you when you die is that eternal damnation.
Right,
What?
right.
Oo.
Because there are only two kinds of people: the ones who will be saved and those who will be condemned.
And those who are saved, who will be saved, are the Iglesia ni
Well,
Cristo members.
yes, those
so the
who
rest of
remain.
us who are not Iglesia are not going to be saved.
Right.
As far as you're concerned.
Well, there is a teaching about that. But there is also a policy written in the Bible when it comes to expelling a person or a member of the church. What they have done is not based on what is written in the Bible, because what the Bible says is that a person who must be expelled is the one who's doing something wrong, the one who refuses to change. But when it comes to the cases of the members of the church like me, who were expelled, we were trying to expose the works of darkness that are written in the Bible, like works of darkness.
Yeah.
Okay, and because we tried to expose the works of darkness, we were the ones punished. So one
Okay.
can just imagine what kind of expulsion it is.
Yeah. We'll go into detail no, tungkol sa mga sinasabi po ninyong works of darkness. But itong tiwalag, the term tiwalag,
You're
that
right.
is the expelled. That is the term
Yes,
that
ma'am.
is missing. Okay. We're just trying to understand. You know, who decides that? Who decides that you, Minister Samson, are expelled?
Okay, when it comes to expulsion, as I said earlier, it's a long process. There is what
Is
you
there
call...
like a trial or something?
Yes, like a preliminary investigation. It begins with the local congregation where you belong. There will be investigations first, and then it will go to the district office. Again, there will be investigation. And then
So
it
there
will
are
be-
like hearings?
Well, not necessarily hearings,
Wala.
but they will talk to you. They will
Okay.
ask you about the accusation,
Yeah.
okay, or what you're charged of.
Okay.
And then
But
once...
this is very different from like an administrative proceeding where you can have a lawyer, where you can...
Oh, no.
It's
It's different, yes, of
Okay.
course. But you can have witnesses. Okay, you
Okay.
can ask someone to prove that you have not done what they accuse you of doing.
Okay, so you were expelled because of what? What did they allege that you did?
Well, I was expelled after I escaped.
What you claimed was
yes,
illegal
because
detention.
yes, okay.
Okay.
I was placed under what they call house arrest, which
Okay.
is literally illegal detention.
Yeah. Oo.
Okay, and then when I escaped, because I feared for my family, for what might happen to my family, that was the time when they expelled me.
Okay, let's go back to the expulsion. No? If one member is expelled and his family is not expelled, what happens? Are you allowed to contact your family? You know.
Well, that's what's so different nowadays, okay? Because every time they try to, or they expel a member of the church, most of the time the families are included also. Like, for
okay.
example, my whole family, and
Yeah.
that has been done so many
Yeah.
times. They read names of families that were expelled.
Okay. Now, what were you detained for? In your words, this was illegal detention. No? You were, kumbaga, restricted to quarters, another
Right,
legal term
okay.
for that. You were detained for what? You were
They-
placed under, as you said, house arrest for what?
Yes, they suspected me, and I was accused of being Antonio
Evangelista.
Evangelista, right?
Okay,
A
okay.
blogger that has exposed if I may use now, the so-called corruptions, okay, being done
yeah.
by the members of the Church Council or the Sanggunian.
Sanggunian,
Yes,
yeah,
they
okay.
insisted that I am Antonio Evangelista.
Oh,
When-
that is a pseudonym, of course. No?
Right,
It belongs
right.
to some. Are you Antonio Evangelista?
No, I'm not
No.
Antonio Evangelista. And I know that they have found out after they have placed me under, quote, house arrest, that I'm not Antonio Evangelista. Because when they took my computer from my office and from my house, and they took my cell phones, okay, I'm sure that they did not find anything there. And to tell you the
Okay.
truth, I'm not even good when it comes to using computer.
Okay. So who is Antonio Evangelista? Do you know?
I really don't
You don't
know
know.
who he
Okay.
is. Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about the charges you filed against some of those ministers. So for illegal detention, as you claimed, no? How could they detain you? Were there armed men, armed guards? How did they restrict your movements in the house?
Okay,
How did they stop you from leaving?
Okay, yes. I was told, okay, that I should not just leave the place or the house, even my family. In fact, even my son was studying in the ministry, okay, was not allowed to go back to his assigned locale or a congregation. And his laptop and his cell phone
were
were
taken.
also confiscated.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
no one could visit us. The sad thing is here, why wouldn't we fear for our life? When one time we told the Sanggunian members who came to our place, because they kept on coming, one after another, and we told them, you know, it's time for my wife to be checked up by her doctor, because my wife just had a heart operation. I mean, what do you call this?
Bypass?
No, not bypass, but pacemaker
Okay.
was inserted. Yes, and so it was time for her to see the doctor. And we told them, these members of the Sanggunian, and yet, and we told them also that we couldn't get in touch with our doctor because the telephone number or the cell phone number is in my cell phone.
Okay.
But they
Yeah.
didn't allow
so
us.
so there were no armed guards?
There were.
There were.
Oh yes, of course there were.
Armed,
Yes.
meaning what kind of arms? And who are these security people?
Okay.
They are armed men of the Iglesia ni Cristo?
Yes.
What are they?
We
Security
stay in a compound, okay, and we
men? A
also
compound of
have the Iglesia ni Cristo.
Iglesia
and,
ministers.
And almost all who live in that place are ministers of the church and their families. And we also have regular guards there. But when I was placed under house arrest, okay, they added guards that are from the central office
Yeah, yeah.
with long arms, okay, high-powered.
High-powered firearms.
yes.
Okay. Did they threaten you in any way? Did they say, if you leave your house, we are going to do this to you?
Oh, well, no.
No.
Okay.
They
but-
just told you, what were the words that were said to you that made it clear to you that you were not allowed to leave your house?
Okay, we are not supposed to talk to anybody. We could not receive, entertain any visitor. And in fact, there were several members there several people who came to see me. They are all
Yeah.
my relatives.
Yeah.
Because during like for example, Monday, my wife had an appointment with my cousin because they're going to Caritas. Okay, and so she was not allowed
Yeah,
to
okay.
come in, and even my the niece of my wife. In fact, the niece of my wife, who is a wife also of a minister, even approached Brother Matusalem Pareja, a member of the Sanggunian, and asked him. And it was Brother Pareja who told me this. Okay, we could not allow your niece to visit your wife.
Okay. You named the ministers in your complaint one by one, no?
Right.
Exactly how were they involved in your supposed detention?
Okay.
Sila mismo nagsabi sa inyo?
Opo,
Sila yung
yes,
pumunta sa
because
inyo?
when I was told that I was under house arrest, the members of the Sanggunian were the ones who came to my office. And then they told me and accused me of being Antonio Evangelista, and then after talking to them, okay, that was the time when they told me that I am under house arrest. And then 2 days after that, I believe about 2 or 3 days after that, 2 of the members of the Sanggunian took me to the central office again, and again the whole number of the Sanggunian were questioning me. I call it interrogation.
You seem to be only targeting the Sanggunian. Eduardo Manalo was not included in your complaint?
No, and that's one thing that I would like to emphasize, because that is what they have been telling the members of the church. That's the reason the members of the church came from far-flung provinces, because they were saying that it was, or it is, Brother Eduardo Manalo that I accuse of, I charge, and also he will soon, or he would soon be arrested, which is not true.
Okay.
Because as I said, personally, I love Brother Eduardo B. Manalo. In fact, that is the reason why I was against what I was seeing, because I knew that that would destroy and that would reflect on our executive minister.
Yeah. Okay. The case you filed, and then the surfacing of Angel Manalo's video on YouTube, and then Tenny Manalo, etc. This all led to the protests, the 4 or 5 day protest that was held on EDSA. The INC claimed victory. We understand even you questioned that, and you wanted government to tell us what was the deal. No? Are you satisfied? The question is, are you satisfied with government's answers?
Well,
when they say no deal, no agreement, nothing.
I may not use the word satisfied, but I'm happy with what I heard from the Malacanang Palace and Secretary De Lima and Secretary Mar Rojas. At least the members would understand that there was no deal or agreement made between the government and the representatives of the Sanggunian. That's why I'm surprised that they were claiming victory, and they even had a victory prayer of thanksgiving in the different houses of worship. That's why I was saying, wow, okay, even to God they lied, because what will be the prayer? Thank you, for you have allowed us to receive our demand, which was not true.
Okay, we'll have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to be speaking to Edwil Zabala, Iglesia ni Cristo spokesperson. News.PH will be right back.
Mga mahal na kapatid sa Iglesia ni Cristo, nais po naming ipabatid sa inyong lahat na nagkausap na po ang panig ng Iglesia at ang panig ng pamahalaan. At sa pag-uusap na ito ay nagkapaliwanagan na po ang dalawang panig. Kaya payapa na po ang lahat. Ito pong ating isinagawang mapayapang pagtitipon na sinimulan natin noong Huwebes ng hapon ay natatapos na po ng mapayapa rin ngayon pong Lunes ng umaga. Salamat ng marami sa ating Panginoon Diyos. Sa Kanya ang lahat ng kapurihan. Mabuhay ang Iglesia ni Cristo.
Welcome back. This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Joining us on the phone right now is Edwil Zabala, the spokesperson of the Iglesia ni Cristo. Thank you very much for joining us, sir. Mr. Zabala.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo. Maraming salamat po.
Yes, sir. Can we begin with this, sir? You claimed victory after that 4 or 5 day protest. For what exactly?
Ang sinabi po ng General Evangelist ng Iglesia ni Cristo, at yun naman po ay narinig po ninyo sa pamamagitan ng video na ipinalabas, nagkausap, nagkapaliwanagan ang dalawang panig at payapa na ang lahat. Wala naman pong sinabi roon na mayroong claim of victory. Wala naman pong sinabing nanalo o natalo ang sino man.
Okay. Although, Mr. Zabala, the protests had asked for the head of Secretary de Lima and also for the dropping of the complaint that Mr. Isaias Samson Jr. had filed against some of the ministers. The way we understand it, those demands were not granted. Is that correct?
Yung pong sinasabi ni Mr. Isaias Samson Jr. na ibinigay o hindi ibinigay ang di umano ay hinihingi o hindi hinihingi ng Iglesia ni Cristo, lahat po yun ay opinyon lamang niya. Wala po kaming kailanman sinabi na may hiningi kami doon sa naging pag-uusap nung magkabilang panig ng magpaliwanagan. Wala rin naman kaming sinabi kailanman ukol sa mga detalye.
Okay.
Kaya nagtataka po ako kung saan hinuhugot ni Mr. Samson yung kanyang paratang.
Oo. No, outside of Mr. Samson's opinions, noong nagkausap nga yung magkabilang panig, no, yung pamalaan at yung Iglesia ni Cristo, napag-usapan po ba yung demand that Secretary Laila de Lima step down and yung to drop the complaint? Was that brought up, sir? That is my question first. So was that brought up?
Wala po akong maaaring sabihin tungkol doon sa bahaging yon. Unang-una, ako po ay nasa kalsada noong mga panahon yon. Wala po ako doon sa pag-uusap. Pangalawa, alang-alang sa ikapananatili po ng kapayapaan at bilang paggalang na rin sa administrasyon, kung ang administrasyon po sa pamamagitan ni Secretary Coloma ay hindi nagsasalita, pangit naman po na kami ay magsalita. Kung sila hindi nagbibigay ng detalye, hindi naman po marahil maganda na kami ay magbigay din ng detalye.
So you don't know for sure if napagbigyan kayo? Is that what you're saying?
Ang isang bagay po ang natitiyak namin. Hindi po yung kung napagbigyan kami o hindi kami napagbigyan. Ang natitiyak po namin na iparinig namin sa administrasyon, lalong-lalo na po doon sa kalihim po ng katarungan, kung ano po yung aming posisyon, aming hinaing, yung amin pong naisabihin mula pa noong nagsimula ang gusot na ito.
Mr. Zabala, during those days of protest, there were several placards that on them were the words emblazoned, "Separation of Church and State." And time and again, there were people who were speaking during that protest saying that hindi dapat makialam ang gobyerno sa Iglesia ni Cristo. However, we are all very aware, of course, that the INC endorses candidates for elections, for elective and appointive posts. So, can you explain that to us, sir? No? You are saying na dapat may separation of church and state. The government should not investigate or prosecute members of the Iglesia ni Cristo, but at the same time, you have these kinds of arrangements where you have candidates asking for endorsement from the church, from the Iglesia ni Cristo, and the church, your church, giving out these endorsements. Can you just explain that to us po?
Siguro po linawin muna natin ano ba ang aming tinutumbok o tinutukoy doon sa sinasabi po namin noon. Ang amin pong posisyon, yung usaping kinasangkutan ng Iglesia ni Cristo, isang pangreliyong usapin. Nakapaloob po dito yung mga disiplina, yung protocol, yung procedures ng isang pangkati ng pananampalataya. Kaya ang problemang iyon, nasa labas na po ng Estado. Walang karapatang pakialaman ng Iglesia ni Cristo ang sino mang simbahan o reliyon. El Shaddai man yan, Jesus is Lord man yan, Islam o iba pa, na maaaring magkaroon ng ganito ring panloob o internal na suliranin.
Yes.
Itinatadhana po ng konstitusyon ang paghihiwalay ng simbahan at Estado.
Yes.
At ang aming posisyon, ang unang dapat na nakakaalam nito ay ang kalihim po ng kagawaran ng katarungan. Maliban na lang po, hindi ko sinasabing meron, pero maliban na lang siguro kung may political agenda. Kung hindi man siya, yung nakakasakop sa kanya, na pakialaman po ang Iglesia. At doon po, hindi kami kailanman makapapayag. Yung po dahilan kaya kami pumunta sa kalsada.
Yeah. Okay.
Sige po.
Kaya nga ho. So explain to us kung why that phrase separation of church and state was used during your protest, but at the same time, everybody is well aware of the fact that the INC endorses candidates.
Puntahan po natin yan, yung pangalawang punto. Palagay ko po hindi ako sang-ayon sa paggamit ng terminong endorso. Kasi po, pagka ginamit natin yung salitang endorso, lumilitaw po pagka merong kaisahan ng Iglesia ni Cristo sa pagboto, yun ay ini-endorso namin sa iba pang mga tao. Hindi po kailanman ginawa yun ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
Yeah.
Pag magkakaisa po Iglesia ni Cristo, ang totoo po ay sinisikreto nga namin iyon sa mga hindi kaanib sa Iglesia. Sa anong sentido po namin sinisikreto? Hindi namin agad pinaalam sapagkat ayaw nga po naming paratangan kaming nag-i-endorso, nakikialam sa pagdidesisyon.
Okay. So it's more like an instruction to your members.
Pardon?
Yun nga lang, Mr. Zabala, ang hirap, no, in this day and age, no, with social media and everything, paano nyo isisikreto yung ganon? But anyway, okay, if there are internal church matters like these, no, like you said, then why hold a public demonstration about it? Since it isn't, like you said, an internal church matter, disciplining a member, no, and I agree. Okay, we all have, all religions, all churches have disciplinary measures, no, which we will talk about more in detail later. So why hold a public demonstration about an internal church matter? Can you enlighten us?
Opo. Sapagkat nakarating po sa kaalaman namin na yung pagsusulong po ng reklamong inihain ni Mr. Samson, nagawa sa ilalim ng patnubay po ni Kalihim de Lima.
Ilalim ng patnubay, meaning...
Ni Kalihim de Lima po.
Dahil sa kanya, sa harap niya, sinampa ang kaso. Yun ba yun?
Labis po, hindi pangkaraniwan yung atensyon po na iniukol niya. Siya mismo ang personal pong nag-asikaso sa nasabing reklamo.
Okay.
Na kung hindi namin nalaman, hindi namin natulugan agad, ay tuloy-tuloy na maaari niyang gawing tuloy-tuloy na i-assign agad, halimbawa sa mga pili niyang prosecutor. At dahil pong illegal detention case po ay non-bailable, at yun nga ang ginamit po nila kay Napoles. Kaya siya nakakulong, hindi naman dahil sa plunder case dahil doon sa illegal detention. Yun din po ang sinubukang gamitin po nung ilan sa mga, hindi ko sinasabing si Secretary, pero nung ilang mga nasa likuran niya, gagamitin ko na yung termino pong iyon. Sinubukan nilang gamitin kay Mr. Ongpin.
Pero Mr. Zabala, this is not the first time that Laila de Lima herself has received a complaint or has spoken to complainants. She does this all the time.
Alam niyo po, sabi nga namin sa inyo po kung halimbawa pong dumaan sana sa proseso, ala ho kayo maririnig sa amin Wala sanang ginawa ang Iglesia ni Cristo na ganoong paghakbang.
What do you mean by dumaan sana sa proseso?
Well, isipin niyo po, si UP Law Professor Harry Roque, noong August 14 po, hindi pa kami nagsisimula, nagsabi na po siya, just to cite someone who's not a member of the Iglesia ni Cristo po, who was observing what was happening. Sabi niya, yung move ng DOJ na yon, sabi niya, illegal. How can there be a DOJ case, according to him, without a complaint filed with the police, the fiscal's office, and the court? Why is the head of the DOJ, according to him, he was asking, why is the head of the DOJ contradicting the findings of the NBI?
Okay. Let's talk about now, Mr. Zabala, the illegal detention charge. No? So yun yung nireklamo ni Mr. Samson. My question is, and like you said, no, there are internal church processes, which I think everybody will agree can be respected. No? My question is there a form of punishment in your church, in the Iglesia ni Cristo, that restricts your members' movements, and what is it called? If it's not called house arrest or detention, what is it called?
Well,
what is the name? Ano po yung pangalan? Because we're not familiar with it. We need to know.
Ang ipinataw po na pagdisiplina, siguro gawin na natin specific po, kay Mr. Samson na. Ano po? Yung pong ipinataw sa kanyang disiplina, noong siya po ay iulat sa pamamahala na nakikipagsabuatan doon sa mga kumakaaway sa iglesia para siraan, para pinsalain ito, yun po ay preventive suspension.
Preventive suspension. Okay.
Po.
Preventive
Sa mga
suspension
Hindi siya
of a minister.
pinapayagan na gampanan muna yung iba po niyang mga
Tungkulin.
gampanin bilang ministro habang hinihintay po yung mangyayaring pagkausap sa kanya at
Okay.
maging doon sa nag-aakusa sa kanya.
Okay. So preventive suspension, in your church processes, does preventive suspension also mean that the movements of this person are restricted?
Hindi po. Sa sentidong, kung ang sentido pong pinag-uusapan natin, yung nais palabasin ni Mr. Samson, na sa bahay, binabantayan, narinig ko po kasi yung bahaging yun nung kanya sinabi, ng mga gwardya na di umano ay mayroon pang mahahabang armas. Ang ibig lang sabihin po noong preventive suspension, you make yourself available anytime na ipatawag ka na.
Yeah, okay.
Para
So
sa ganoon, humarap ka na doon sa nag-aakusa sa iyo.
So there was never any occasion that any minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo, any member of the INC told Mr. Samson that you are not allowed to leave your house.
Doon po sa bahaging yon, wala po ako ron. Tandaan po
Okay.
natin,
So
si
you are
Mr.
not
Samson
aware.
lang po ang nagsasabi niyan.
Oh, you're not aware kung merong nagsabi nun. But my question, Mr. Zabala, is so apart from yung preventive suspension, meron po bang disciplinary action sa Iglesia ni Cristo that will limit a person's movements? Meron? Meron po ba? Wala?
Ay, yun mismo pong preventive suspension, nalilimitahan ng kilos ng tao po doon. Dahil
Okay.
sa...
Is that
kung ang
written
dati
down
mong-
po, Mr.
Pardon
Zabala?
po?
Is that written down, yung preventive suspension and your...
Opo, meron pong ganong tuntunin po sa aming mga ministro. Sa anong sentido po nalilimitahan? Lilinawin ko lang ho.
Okay.
Hindi pa rin sa sentidong nais palabasin ni Mr. Samson. Nalilimitahan lang po sa sentidong kung ako po ministro, mag-officiate ako ng worship service. If I am under preventive suspension, hindi na ako pwedeng mag-officiate. Nalimitahan ng kilos ko sa ganong sentido po.
Yeah, okay. We don't have much time, Mrs. Zabala, so I'm going to try and hurry this along, no? All these allegations that came up, no, about corruption, etc. My question is, let's focus on this now, and then let's go straight to the point, no? Who is responsible for seeing to it that church funds are used properly? Is there like an oversight body or? And we ask this question because the way we understand it, no, those of us who are not Iglesia ni Cristo members, your members give tithe, no? They give a certain amount of their income. In other words, there are church funds, no? Who makes sure that the church funds are properly used and don't go to someone's pockets?
Meron pong proseso na ino-oversee po ng auditor at maging ng treasurer ng iglesia na nasa ilalim po ng tagapamahalang pangkalahatan ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
So if there is a so-called oversight body, an auditor, a treasurer, not once has this auditor or treasurer seen any anomaly or any irregularity in the use of church funds?
Masyado malawak po yung tanong na yan. Po ba? 101 years na po Iglesia.
Yeah.
Sa
Well,
buong
okay,
mundo na.
let's say the last 5 years. Or
Opo.
like when, the last
Ba't di
few
pa natin
years.
gawing specific po doon sa kiniklaim po ni Mr. Samson? Di ba?
Yeah.
Well, siya naman na nagpaparatang po eh.
Oo.
Sinasabi niya, yun ang dahilan, kaya niya ginawa lahat ng ito po. Isa yung sa sabi niyang dahilan eh.
Oo. No, well, I asked that question because any church would always look into itself, investigate,
Opo,
make sure na
totoo po
maayos ang pamamahala. No?
Totoo po yun.
My question is, meron bang nakita na yung mga ganon, mga...
Opo.
Oo.
Kaya nga po, itong tutumbukin ko na po, itong si Mr. Samson, nagkaroon na sana siya ng pagkakataon. Para sapagkat hanggang ngayon, tila kinakailapan niyang siya yung Antonio Evangelista eh. Tila kinakailapa po niya na siya ang nasa likuran noong vlog na kung saan lumalabas yung ganyang mga akusasyon na merong katiwalian po sa pananalapi ng Iglesia.
Yeah.
Nakatakataka namang ikailapan niya, yung kanya pag-alis, hindi pagpapasakop doon sa proseso ng pagsisiyasat, na sana doon na siya magkakaroon ng pagkakataong i-clear ang kanyang sarili kung talagang hindi siya yon, ay hindi niya pinayagang daanan. Miraculously, di umano, he was able to escape after saying sasamba lang siya.
Okay.
Pero kung halimbawang dumaan siya sa prosesong iyon at doon ay, dalawa, napatunayan niyang hindi siya yung Antonio Evangelista, o kaya sinabi niya, ako yung Antonio Evangelista, pero ito yung pruweba ko sa sinasabi ko na may korupsyon. Hindi napakinggan sana siya.
Okay. So,
yung pong mga akusasyon nila, hindi lang naman siya, pero siya mga kasama sa grupo, na di umano may korupsyon sa Iglesia ni Cristo, wala po silang inilalabas na ebidensya, puro aligasyon po.
Okay. You're saying that if anyone is going to allege any wrongdoing, then it is their burden to present the evidence.
Siyempre po.
Okay.
Hindi naman pwedeng sa social media magkakalat tayo ng kung ano-ano.
Right.
Pagkatapos sasabihin natin, patunayan mong hindi totoo itong aligasyon ko sa iyo.
Why put the burden on you, on the Iglesia leadership, kumbaga? Okay, but you are saying, Mr. Zabala, as far as you know, as far as you're concerned, that those allegations are not true. Is that what you're trying to say also?
Opo, yun ang sinasabi ko.
Because that's my question. Was the money, were church funds properly used? And
Opo.
Your answer is opo. Yes, definitely. Okay, so in other words, that's why you're saying, prove it. Show us the evidence. No? You can't just make an allegation and not present the evidence. So in other words, what you're saying also is that none of the ministers of the Iglesia ni Cristo made money on any of the projects, any of the infrastructure, any of the buildings, etc.
Dapat nga po specify po nila. Yun ang sinasabi ko po. Dahil sa tingin niyo po, kumbaga shotgun yung approach eh. Di ba? Wala silang in-specify yung sasagutin po namin. Napaka-generalized po nung kanilang paratang. They're on a fishing expedition, in other words.
Fishing expedition. All right. My last question to you, tell us where you see the Iglesia ni Cristo in the next 5-10 years. After this, this is the first time that your church has been under the microscope in this manner. Where do you see the church?
This series of events po, if I may use that phrase po, this is only going to make the church stronger. Una po, mas naging aware ang mga kapatid namin sa Iglesia na meron palang ganitong mga tao, na meron palang ganitong mga nagpaparatang na ayaw maglabas ng ebidensya, puro pagpaparatang. Na meron palang mga tao na papayag makipagsabuatan dito sa mga itiniwalag namin. Gagamitin sila para sa ano pamang mga dahilan o ambisyon po na nais nilang isulong. Yung mga kaanib sa Iglesia po, lalong tumatag po, lalong tumibay. Kaya kung napansin po ninyo, pagkatapos ng aming papayapang pagtitipon, masaya po lahat.
Okay.
Naglinis kaming masaya, kahit pagod kami pare-pareho. Nagpunta sa kanyang kapilya, maligaya po kami nagpasalamat sa Diyos. Pinagpapasalamat namin.
Okay.
Na isagawa naming payapa lahat ng yon. Lalo po kaming nagpasya na makikipagkaisa kami sa tagapamahalang pangkalahatan ng Iglesia ni Cristo.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Edwil
Maraming
Zabala,
salamat po, Ms. Pia.
spokesperson of the Iglesia ni Cristo. Thank you very much for coming to the phone and speaking to us. Mr. Samson, let's talk about those corruption allegations. And you heard, and he said it time and again, Mrs. Zabala, saying, where is the evidence? No? What is the evidence? Do you have that evidence? Do other members of the Iglesia have that evidence?
Well, when it comes to what they're insisting that I'm Antonio Evangelista, I keep on saying, no, I'm not Antonio Evangelista, but I'm aware of what he had published. Okay, and when it comes to what he has published already, there are many evidences there. Okay, even the receipts, even the titles, even the names of those members of the Sanggunian are right there mentioned in those papers. You know, I'm surprised that when it comes to the Sangguniang members, and including their spokesperson, keeps on telling that there are no evidences. Prove it, okay? And that's one thing wrong. You know, instead of us, because we have already, when it comes to us, we have already told them that there are evidences based on what has been published by Antonio Evangelista. Okay? It's their duty to refute that or to tell them, no, this is not true. For example, the title on the high-end or most expensive cars, okay, and the names are there, okay, why can't they say, no, this is not ours? That is not true. Like, for example, when it comes to the, what I read about Victoria in the Fort, it's a luxury condominium, okay, why can't they say, no, this does not belong to us and this is the proof or something like that? In other words, they should be able to convince the members of the Church of Christ that they have done nothing wrong. Okay, but that's not what they've been doing. They just keep on denying, no evidence, you know, prove it, you know, something like that.
Okay. Well, you know, he also said that there is supposed to be an auditor and a treasurer that oversees all of this.
Yeah, the problem is that the auditor of the church is the number one accused of corruption in the church. So how can he audit himself?
And the treasurer?
Well, when it comes to the treasurer, one time I was talking to him and he said in somebody talked to him, not me. But there were times also when we were talking to each other na ang lagi niyang sinasabi, ako po ngayon ay ingat na lang, wala nang yaman.
What does that mean?
Hindi na siya ingat yaman, kundi ingat na lang siya, pero wala nang yaman.
Okay, okay. Well, Mr. Zabala, of course, they kept repeating na dapat ipakita yung ebidensya, etc. I guess they don't consider evidence. They don't consider what is in that blog of that so-called Antonio Evangelista as evidence. But anyway, okay. You know, of course, for every accusation you throw, your enemies will always find a way to get back at you, you know, try to find something wrong that you did. Can you tell us, were you ever disciplined before this this most recent disciplinary action?
Well, there were disciplines imposed to us because it all depends on the gravity of what you have committed, okay? But when he tells us that what was done to me was just, what do you call it, a discipline, and in fact, several times, the members of the Sangguniang were saying that those disciplines were in accordance with what is written in the Bible. But where in the Bible does it condone that?
But Mr. Zabala was saying that yung preventive suspension
of course,
in the church
that.
process includes restriction of movement. It's written down somewhere.
He specifically said, like, for example, when it comes to preaching, and I accepted that. When they told me that you are suspended, I said, yes, okay, because I understand that there is what you call preventive suspension in the church. But is it also in accordance with the Bible to get first our passports? Is it in accordance with what is written in the Bible?
Yeah. No, but there is a document, a church document that details?
No.
Wala
There's
naman.
no
Because
such.
ang sabi niya, merong preventive suspension.
Yes.
At meron kasama doon, kaakibat ng preventive suspension, ay yung restriction of movement.
Restriction, if you have noticed again, he wanted to be specific na yung restriction of movement na yon ay doon lamang sa, halimbawa, sa pangangasiwa, sa pagsamba.
Okay.
Pero walang nakasulat doon na hindi ka pwedeng mag-grocery. Yung pinagpaalam namin.
That you are restricted to your house.
Yes, hindi ayaw payagan. Walang nakasulat doon na hindi ka pwedeng magpunta sa doktor kahit na ang asawa mo ay bagong opera.
Okay. Were you ever disciplined before?
Oh, yes.
For what?
They would tell, again, I was accused of saying to the students before na I told them that in order for a minister to become good minister and effective minister, he needs to be good also when it comes to doing things that are wrong. You see, that's why I told him, can you imagine that? Okay, I'm an old minister, and I would tell a student, for you to succeed, for you to be a good minister, you need to know also how to do the things that are wrong, which is not what I said. But still, I was suspended when I asked him, should I not officiate the worship service anymore? In fact, when I was told that I was suspended, I was about to go up to a stage to officiate on a what do you call it, pamamahayag, okay, pamamahayag of the church, or biblical, sometimes we call it exposition, okay, or grand evangelical mission. So I asked the one who told me that I'm suspended, so should I not preach anymore? Should I go down and not? And he said, no, you can
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Wait, when was this? How many years ago was this?
Oh, a long time ago.
A long time ago.
A long
Okay.
time ago. And then I was told also, I asked him, Brother Iranio Manalo, okay, I said, told me to pass by 2 districts because I need to officiate worship services there. So I should not go there anymore. And he said, no, you should go. In other words, and then I asked, should I still attend to my responsibilities in television or in radio? Okay. Should I not come to the office anymore? They said, no, you should come. And I said, why am I suspended?
Okay.
You
So
know
that
what
was
they
a
did?
suspension.
Yeah.
That was also a preventive suspension.
Yes, it was also a preventive suspension in the sense that I was surprised. I was allowed to officiate worship services in other provinces, but I was not allowed to officiate worship services in Manila for 2 weeks.
Okay. So why? Why Manila? Why in Manila hindi pwede?
That's
sa
one thing I
probinsya?
don't understand.
So the preventive suspension, pero hindi limited or restricted ang movements ninyo.
Opo.
You were not like nilagay sa house arrest or
wala
hindi.
akong ganun dapat.
Okay. Was there a demotion after that, or you're minister now, then you're meron bang ganon? May promotion, may
I'm sure
demotion?
that demotion would follow. Okay, and I'm not after that. Okay, kasi ang problema po ay kailangang mahayag na itong mga bagay nito. Maraming mga members tinitingnan lang nila itong kasong ito, na bakit ako nag-file ng illegal detention.
Yeah.
Ako, ang paniniwala ko po, ito ay isang paraan lang ng Panginoong Diyos para lalong mahayag kung ano man yung dapat mahayag pa.
This is the first of its kind ever,
I
right?
think
No one
so.
has ever
I
filed
think
any
so.
case against the Iglesia or
Yes,
its
I think so.
ministers. And you are prepared for this.
Oh, yes. As I said,
Nothing is going to make you change your mind and
no,
make you back down.
nothing, except perhaps if there would be a total reform, if the church will be back to its original condition.
Okay. Have you ever spoken to Eduardo Manalo himself about this?
If I may, okay, if I may not answer that question anymore. Okay.
So you did speak to him. You just don't want to tell us what it was na napag-usapan nyo. But is he aware of? Well, I suppose he's aware. No, he knows what's going on. I mean, there's television, there's newspapers, etc. He
Okay,
knows.
the problem is this, okay? Every time you talk to and you tell these members of the Sanggunian what you are hearing, okay, the complaints of the members, the complaints of the ministers, they will keep on saying, no, there is no evidence. In fact, we went to all these provinces, to all these districts, and we investigated, and there was no one who told me that these things, or who told us that these things are happening. So I figured out, wait a minute. So they're not telling the executive minister the truth. They just keep on saying there's nothing happening.
Okay. Final words, Mr. Samson.
Okay, my final words is this. I just hope that the members would try to examine and be objective about the things that are now happening. Don't look at me. Don't think of the case that I filed, but think of the accusations, if I use the word accusations, against the Sanggunian members. They are the ones who saw what was going on in the past 2 years. They were the ones affected by all these movements and actions of the Sanggunian. And I'm sure that when it comes to the ministers and workers of the church and many members of the Church of Christ, they know that for a fact. In fact, that's the reason why only 15,000 to 20,000 have gathered in that particular rally to think that there are millions of members of the Church of Christ. They still needed to ask the members from far-flung provinces to come here and to rally. They didn't have to do that if the members were listening. They could do that right here in Quezon City. They could have massed or gathered hundreds of thousands. But nobody came, despite the threat that they have received. So it means they're not listening anymore, or they are in silent protest.
Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Isaias Samson Jr., former Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo. And of course, thank you to Edwil Zabala, spokesperson of the Iglesia, who spoke to us by telephone earlier. And thank you for watching News.PH. See you again next Wednesday. I'm Pia Hontiveros.